and expresses his gratitude for always standing by his side. Turning to Met, he orders her to repeat his commands exactly as he gives them and mentions his plan to arm the towers. Out of nowhere, he conjures a ballista, leaving the ladies baffled by the unfamiliar weapon. However, the moment Met hears it fires enormous arrows, her eyes gleam with excitement. Just as she prepares to test it out, Joshua tells her to hold off, reminding her that it is their trump card. At the same time, a sudden interruption grabs their attention. The golems and slimes arrive with boatloads of coal, and our crafty mage shares his plans to make it into a flammable diarrhea that their Tengu squad will dump on the Cortesia scum. He explains that they'll shoot lit arrows at them afterward, causing a wildfire worse than the Amazon rainforest. The scene shifts to Joshua directing a villager on where to position a hay trap when he notices the lowly brigade approaching. They inform him that their enemies are only a few minutes away. Without hesitation, Commander Joshua orders them to flank the approaching forces and capture any deserters. When the young fighters express concern about him facing the enemy alone, he reassures them that he is never truly alone, counting on steadfast allies like Ilya and Met. More than anyone, he believes it is his responsibility to put an end to human greed. As the scene shifts, the humans pursuing the werewolves find themselves drawn toward the northern wall. Uncertain if their prey is still nearby, they grow uneasy at the sight of a massive fortress ahead, questioning whether they have mistakenly taken the wrong path. Frustration spreads among the hunters as they begin blaming one another for losing the werewolves' trail. The argument threatens to escalate, but before it spirals out of control, their leader, the fire mage Burnish, catches sight of a werewolf standing atop the wall. Noticing this, Joshua steps forward to try and talk things out. Burnish demands to know our boy's identity, and Joshua quickly states his name before pressing him about what he has been doing with the demi-humans. Recognizing the name, Burnish recalls Joshua as Logue's lackey with the crafting magic crest and smugly brags about the time he allowed Joshua to sharpen his pathetic sword. This confirmation fuels our boy's suspicions, and he furiously responds that he remembers Burnish, insisting that he put an end to his slave trading business and go to school where he belongs. In response, Burnish mocks Joshua, belittling him as a magic engineer who barely managed to enter a magic academy while boasting about his own status as an honor student at Verso's Magic University. As Joshua anticipates, Logue's cousin Burnish mirrors his arrogance, judging others solely by their crests. Burnish repeats his question about the slave trading, pointing out that it is forbidden by the temple. With a casual tone, Burnish dismisses the rules as something meant for the weak, claiming that his actions are not for money, but for his own amusement, a remark that fuels Met and Ilya's anger. He adds that no experience at the Magic University could ever bring him the same thrill, describing the screams of the demi-humans as a sound he finds soothing. Continuing to mock Joshua, Burnish expresses relief at not being born a loser like him. In an attempt to provoke him, Joshua fires back that he'd rather die than become someone as cringe as Burnish. Enraged by the insult, Burnish declares that Joshua should feel grateful to die by the hands of a magician as superior as himself, unleashing a high-level fire spell at him. Driven by fury over the innocent demi-humans Burnish has slaughtered, Joshua uses his magic space, releasing a shower of powdered coal just as planned. Burnish quickly realizes what Joshua has done and, seeing the inevitable outcome, he yells at him to stop. But it is too late. The powdered coal has already caught fire, and with its fat content, extinguishing the flames is nearly impossible. As the fire spreads, Burnish and those around him pee their pants, and their panic only gets worse as Asuha and her kin continue to rain down more coal. The remaining hunters, overwhelmed by fear, scream and scatter in a desperate attempt to escape. However, their fate takes a cruel turn when those who manage to flee towards the forest find themselves face to face with the very werewolves they had been hunting. The creatures emerge, ready to claim their revenge. Even Ilya, without a shred of mercy, ensures the hunters meet the brutal end they rightfully deserve. Met, along with her people and a few werewolves, charges at the fleeing humans, catching them off guard. The sudden attack throws the remaining hunters into a panic, forcing them to abandon the forest route and rush toward the riverbank instead. As Met races after them, ready to strike, Joshua calls out, instructing her to capture the men alive so they can be questioned. Noticing Met's eagerness, Merc voices concern that she might accidentally kill them, suggesting the task be left to her instead. Without hesitation, both Met and the werewolves continue their pursuit. Meanwhile, Asuha, still visibly nervous, approaches Joshua and quietly expresses her gratitude for his help. Joshua, wearing a sad expression, admits he's also relieved they managed to take them down. With victory in sight, some of the demi-humans start discussing whether they should attack the enemy base and rescue their captured friends. Ilya turns to our boy, asking if that's really the best course of action. But Joshua hesitates, as he can't stand the thought of losing anyone. Instead of shutting the idea down completely, he offers an alternative. Their goal isn't to seize the base, but to free the captured demi-humans. Seeing Met return with the ones who tried to escape, Joshua quickly crafts a mask and puts it on, confidently commanding everyone to follow his lead. After tying all the soldiers up, Joshua acts like he's grown a pair and demands they tell him how many men are in their fortress. The men ignore him until Ilya parks her sword right by their necks and gives them 10 seconds before they kick the bucket. One of them instantly shouts that there's only 50, and the rest also confirm his statement. So, Commander Joshua orders his Tengu and werewolf squads to head to the Cortesia Company's base with the soldiers in tow. Joshua is surprised to learn that they have the advantage in numbers, and Ilya asks if he has a plan. Our hero confidently brags that he has a big brain plan to bring everyone back without bloodshed and catches the chief off guard. Joshua then asks Met to station half of her forces here to avoid any mishaps, so she wishes them luck despite wanting to join him. With that, he takes the demi-human army with him toward the enemy base. On his way, Merc informs him that they are mere minutes from the fortress, so Joshua stops everyone to go over the plan one last time. With a goofy grin on his face, Commander Joshua asks everyone to simply surround the fortress without attacking, a plan that Merc seriously doubts will work. He explains that the enemy is free to use their hostages as meat shields. That's why they need to surround them with such pressure that they lose all hope. Although Ilya isn't convinced in the slightest, the chief puts her trust in Joshua's brain smoother than a baby's bottom. Once everyone is in position, Joshua asks Wiz to distribute the stack of torches he's made to their army and instructs everyone to grab torches in both hands and circle around the enemy base. On his command, they light their torches one by one, and the three factions of the demi-human alliance take a side, along with their hostages. Finally, Joshua tells the girls to follow his lead, and our hero leads his army straight to the enemy's front gate. Inside the fortress, the soldiers think that the pyromancer, Sir Burnish, is back, but they immediately wet their pants seeing the crazy number of torches approaching them. This ear-deafening screech that assaults their eardrums soon thereafter makes them think they're under attack, so they rush to inform their leader. Joshua smiles at his plan going smoothly, while Ilya is proud of her powerful flute attack. Suddenly, the castle leader, Sir Kabus, shows up and demands to know who is playing the horrendous music. After losing his words for a moment, Joshua surprises everyone by saying that he's come on behalf of the Fendel Alliance, a name as popular as Soulja Boy's new album. After questioning his life choices for a moment, Joshua yells that the demi-humans have banded together and now want their hostages back. When Sir Kabus calls him delusional, Joshua tells Fatty that he'd better listen because the sea of torches surrounding his base has already put out the molten moron Sir Burnish. Hearing this, Fatty is unable to believe himself, but his men report that the wannabe warlock was wiped out in seconds. Reminding Kabus that he's surrounded, Joshua tells him to free everyone or meet his maker. Before Fatty can even respond, our boy threatens to crush him under his golem's feet. The leader instantly changes his attitude and begs Joshua to uphold his part of the deal. Joshua reflects Kabus's words back at him, and Ilya barely scrapes his shoulder to assert dominance. Fatty immediately commands his troops to release every last prisoner, who comes flooding out the front gate. Joshua asks his party to double-check if anyone's left inside. Once the girls return with all the survivors, Ilya bites her lip as she shares that the missing ones have already passed away. Joshua suggests that they should leave and interrogates Kabus to make sure he's released every last one. Fatty confirms this and promises to disappear forever, but Joshua doesn't take prisoners and sends all the slave traders to the slammer. Later that day, when Merc asks our hero what the Fendel thing was, Ilya catches on that it refers to the demi-human alliance. Now that their mission is complete, she feels sad that it's time they walk their own paths, but Merc and Asuha assure her that they'll be buddies for life. Joshua seconds their sentiment and cheers Ilya up, but he instantly freezes up when she suggests they decide on a leader. Joshua sweats harder than a Fortnite kid during a build battle as the ladies shower him with compliments and beg him to be their representative. After making a last-ditch excuse that he's a human, he folds to Ilya's smile and ends up becoming a mascot of the demi-human alliance. The party returns to Met and the others, celebrating the hostages' return. But what concerns Joshua are the giant pillars of smoke nearby. Met smiles cheerfully as she confesses it's coming from the love-filled dinner she made for Joshua as his wife, making him freeze up. But before Met can declare they're married in front of everyone, Ilya towers over her and stares directly into her soul, calling her too crafty for a measly side chick. However, seeing Met not budge from Joshua's side, Ilya blushes harder than ever and asks him to marry her instead. Even though marriage isn't even on his to-do list, the ladies throw themselves into battle like rabid dogs, to the point that Ilya treats Asuha's simple dinner invite like a seduction move. The winged lowly leaves all the ladies speechless by bragging with a straight face that she's obviously best girl. Smiling wryly at the wild women, Joshua prays that his harem life doesn't spiral into a drama. While everyone is having a blast, the ladies start wondering where he's wandered off to. Meanwhile, our hero takes a stroll in the south, feeling good that the demihumans can finally chill in peace, though Ilya's tiny village seriously lacks enough houses for everyone. Bob the builder then casually lays down 200 houses, astonishing the chief, who thanks him for being the best. He feels bad for making everyone grind overtime on construction, but the chief reminds him he's the one putting in the most work, leaving him feeling all warm and fuzzy inside. Her cuteness snaps him out of his guilt, and he brings up an idea to set up some fields for a sustainable food supply. She recalls hearing about this whole agriculture thing from the kidnapped folks, so since labor isn't an issue, Joshua points out that all they need now is seeds and cattle. She looks confused when he asks if she's ever heard of sheep, which he describes as being fluffy like cotton candy. Ilya gets what he means, but says they're not really found around here, so he decides his next mission is to track some of them down. Ilya grumbles about him wandering off alone once again, but when he tells her to relax before she gets a stroke, she calls him out for never taking his own advice. After a 2-day break, they stand on the village walls, watching the place come alive. Joshua mentions that a water supply would be pretty nice, making the chief shiver as she wonders if he's about to summon a whole ocean this time. He quickly clarifies that they'll just dig a channel from a nearby river, and by tomorrow, the villagers should have it ready. The chief is absolutely awestruck by how amazing he is before shyly asking if he has time for a little selfish request. She gets all giddy as she gushes about this incredible bathing spot in the mountains. The moment Joshua realizes she's talking about a hot spring, she lights up, rambling about how insanely good they feel. Seeing her blushing face, our boy is unable to refuse. He figures they'll have to go straight to the source since heating up water themselves isn't exactly an option. Ilya practically vibrates with excitement at the thought of a hot spring date, but her joy comes crashing to a halt the second Met and the lowlies barge in on their steamy alone time. Merc argues that it's unfair to hog all the fun, while Met insists she's only tagging along as a bodyguard. Not buying it for a second, Ilya snaps that there's no bodyguarding happening in a bath towel, while Joshua just chuckles at the eager ladies getting ready to take a dip. When they finally reach the breathtakingly scenic hot springs, Joshua dips a hand in to test the waters, only to get roasted by the boiling heat. Ignoring his suffering, the girls immediately start squabbling over who gets to wash his back. Meanwhile, he's too busy staring in shock as Merc and Asuha casually play with the scalding hot water only to yelp in pain a second later when reality slaps them. He begins planning a method to make it cool enough to enjoy, when suddenly, everyone freezes upon hearing a rumbling as if Irene is about to come skinny dipping. But Merc tells him that it's most likely coming from a large herd of boars traveling very close to the village. Joshua apologizes to the ladies for asking them to postpone their bath and promises Met that he'll make one in the village just for her. After sending Asuha back to inform everyone, the group rushes through the forest toward the loud noise. Puzzled by the massive cloud of dust rising in the distance, he starts worrying that the creatures might be the Demon King's tamed beasts, though it's odd for them to show up in such a remote place. As he wonders why they're moving so slowly, he suddenly realizes that the big black furballs are fleeps, a highly sought-after breed monopolized by the demons for their luxurious fur and milk. While the party tries to figure out why they're here, one of the beasts suddenly curses at him for daring to block their path. Our hero quickly catches on that this talking one was probably trained by the demon army. Before anyone can react, it boldly announces that they're here to steal the yummy grass and will trample over anything in their way. Their leader, Ceres, commands the fleeps to mow the humans down. Shocked by the sudden aggression, Joshua shouts for Ilya to retreat, knowing they're outnumbered. But before anyone moves, Merc instinctively steps forward to face them, completely unfazed as her body moves on its own. Just then, the other werewolves arrive, so Joshua tells them to fall back. But to his surprise, the fleeps freeze in fear. The panicked fluffballs start whining about how the doggies are way too scary, and that's when it finally clicks that these demi-humans are no different from regular wolves and sheep. The wolf chief seizes the moment, ordering her people to surround the terrified furballs, sending them into full-blown despair. Wasting no time, Joshua materializes a fence like he's playing Minecraft and successfully traps the herd. Sweating harder than weebs at an anime convention, the sheep spot reinforcements from the village and lose their will to fight. The leader snaps at her trembling flock to stop whining and fight for their pride right until she freezes in place, staring at Ilya's giant blade hovering inches from her fluffy face. Our Lady's death stare squeezes out one last baya before the defeated leader curls up in surrender. With Ceres going down so easily, the rest of the sheep quickly lose their fight, making Ilya wonder what should be done with them. Joshua steps in, assuring them he means no harm and asking their leader what brought them here. Ceres hesitantly explains that after humans attacked their tiny shed, that's when she and her flock saw an opening and took off. Joshua doesn't sugarcoat the reality check, there are more humans up ahead. The fleeps immediately burst into tears, prompting Ilya to scold him for being too harsh. Giving him her best puppy eyes, she suggests bringing the demonic mutton chops into their alliance. Seeing no harm in it, Joshua offers the fleeps a home in the village in exchange for their prized fur and milk, of course. Ceres beams with excitement, and the two shake hands on the deal. Later that day, she requests a nice, spacious house near the river, so our hero casually blinks a massive barn into existence, nearly making the sheep pee their wool. They immediately start revering him as stronger than the overhyped demon lord, and Ceres happily offers to strip her fur on demand, saying it's way too hot, anyway. After Asuha gets her fill of petting world-class fluff, Joshua notices the entire flock already snoozing in their new home. Speaking on their behalf, Ceres apologizes for their exhaustion and extends an offer that if he ever needs a bed, the fleeps, famously used as portable mattresses by the demon army, would be more than happy to help. Joshua happily takes up the enticing offer, and by nighttime, he's knocked out on a bed fluffier than clouds. Lost in his dreams, he instinctively squeezes something plump, only to be jolted awake by some rather suggestive sheep noises. Ceres, smirking, teases him for getting a little too comfortable, joking that he must be seriously down bad to start playing with her in his sleep. She teases him to be a bit more considerate, even if he's clearly eager to try some of that milk. Before anything naughty goes down, Ilya shows up with a menacing look, ready to bonk the randy sheep girl back to her senses. Seeing the clueless sheep girl sweating in confusion, Ilya calms down and drags Ceres away to discuss the best way to harvest her fur, especially the milk. The noise wakes Met, who hopes the innocent sheep girl doesn't get a painful butt whooping. A few more days pass, and Joshua's progress in fishing, agriculture, and the newly upgraded fleet fur beds leaves the ladies thoroughly impressed. But the biggest game changer is something no one ever thought possible: a river now flowing directly through the village. Seeing Merc practically vibrating with excitement, ready to dive in, Joshua reminds Met loud enough for Merc to hear that the water is meant for drinking and watering the fields. With a cholera crisis averted, he heads out to check on the slave hunter's castle. Met grins, declaring that she's the perfect partner for this mission, while Merc eagerly insists on tagging along too. The wolf Loli says she'll go on ahead, so Joshua bids farewell to the future meatballs before following after. As they move through the forest, Merc suddenly rushes back, looking visibly alarmed. Something is wrong because everyone they see at the fortress is no longer alive. How did a fortress full of slave traders end up as a ghost town overnight? And more importantly, what kind of monster wiped them out before Joshua and the gang even arrived? Drop a cute demon girls in the comments if you're hyped for part 2, because you don't want to miss what's next. Don't forget to leave a thumbs up too if you enjoyed the video. As always, appreciate you watching, can't wait to see you in the next one.